going on YouTube? Thomas O here with the new film Gloria Bell opening this week. Since the film stars Julianne Moore, who's of course an Oscar-winning actress, and all, I decided to do my top 10 favorite Julianne Moore movies because the woman's been around like since around like the 80s and 90s and all. She's a tremendous actress, and she has an Oscar on her mantle to prove it. And she's been in some pretty good stuff over the years. So, with that being said, here's my 10 favorite Julianne Moore movies. Coming in at number 10 is Shortcuts. Now, this is mainly this features like different stories all roll into one, and it's pretty much features loosely connected characters who like cross paths, and is based on the stories. Some of the stories includes Raymond Carver, waitress Doreen Pidgeot, played by Lily Tomlin, who accidentally runs into a boy with her car, and so like soon after walking away, the child like lapses into a coma, and while at the hospital, the boy's grandfather, played by the great Jack Lemmon, tells his son Howard, played by Bruce Davison, about his past affairs, and so like meanwhile, a baker, played by Lyle Lovett, starts harassing the family when they fail to pick up the boy's birthday cake and all. It's directed by Robert Altman, who also did stuff like Popeyes. He was a legend. A few other characters includes Dr. Ralph Wayman, played by Matthew Modine. His wife is played by Julianne Moore. There's also Fred Ward, who plays a character named Stewart, and Archer plays a character named Claire Kane. Madeline Stowe is in this. You also got Frances McDormand, Tim Robbins, Pierre Gallagher, Tim Waits, Andy McDowell, Chris Penn, Lily Taylor, Robert Downey Jr. was also in this. Talk about big casting. This is probably one of the best films with a ensemble. I really dug some of the stories all roll into this. And if you guys never seen Shortcuts, definitely check it out. It's probably my favorite Robert Altman movie as well. Maybe one of these days I gotta do my 10 my favorite Robert Altman movies, because he's done some really good stuff. And Julianne Moore, the chemistry between her and Matthew Modine, that was pretty good. Yeah, if you guys haven't, to be honest, I haven't seen this movie for a while, but I should rewatch it again. It's been a while since I've seen this film, but if you guys never seen Shortcuts, definitely check it out. It's really good. Coming in at number 9 is The Hours. Now, this, of course, is a film that spans across time periods in the 20th century, and it's a drama that revolves around 3 very different women, 2 of whom have been profoundly affected by the works of Virginia Woolf, and the other woman is Woolf herself. And all 3 are pretty much battling issues of freedom, responsibilities, identity, and as the story. And in this, Julianne Moore actually plays a 1940s housewife who seems like Julianne Moore's character is named Laura Brown, who's like a 1940s housewife who lives in a sunny and pristine suburb of Los Angeles with a war hero husband. She also has a 3-year-old son and a baby on the way. And so she and her family, lives in a very small house, which no one but they have ever lived. And outside, they have a watered lawn that glows. They also have a brilliant, almost unearthly green, and this was a pretty good film. Julianne Moore was in this. You also had Nicole Kidman played Virginia Woolf. You had the great Meryl Streep in this. Let me pull up the cast list. Meryl Streep was, of course, great in this. Of course, she's Meryl Streep. She's always great. This also had a really good cast, too. The movie was also directed by believe it was directed by Stephen Daldry, who also was supposed to direct that Obi-Wan Kenobi film, but I don't know if that's ever going to come out. And like the other cast in this includes people like John C. Reilly, Ed Harris. Let's see. Stephen Delane, Claire Danes, Allison Janney, Toni Collette was in this, Miranda Richardson, Margot Martindale, really good supporting cast, and Julianne Moore was of course great. I believe this movie scored a few Oscar nominations, and well deserved too, because the performances in this was really amazing. And I mean, it's pretty cool that it spanned like different, like it had different stories roll into one, kind of like Shortcuts did. And if you guys haven't seen The Arrows, I think you'll probably like it. All right, coming in at number 8 is The English Teacher. Now here, Julianne Moore plays a 4-year-old unmarried high school English teacher in a small town of Kingston, Pennsylvania. And so, like, she shares a small apartment with 2 Siamese cats and her rich collection of great literature. And so, like, she pretty much maintains no personal relationships aside. And her, life is, of course, far less complicated than she actually ends up having an affair with a student, believe it or not, who is, of course, played by Michael Angelorano, who was pretty good in this. You also had people like Greg Kinnear, Nikki Blonsky. Nathan Lane was also in this. Really good cast. This is really an underrated gem. I mean, it got released in 2013, and it was like more of a smaller fare movie for her. Shame that no one really even saw this movie. It was actually a really good little film. I mean, Julianne Moore, I mean, her character, I should say, is likable or anything, but she was really good here. I mean, if you guys haven't seen The English Teacher yet, check it out. It's a really nice little indie. Coming in at number 7 is the remake of Carrie. Now, of course, here you got Julianne Moore playing Carrie's religious, protecting mother. This was a really great role for Julianne Moore. Shows that she could do more than just serious dramas and all. Her in this was terrific. I mean, I didn't think there could have been an argument to be said that Julianne Moore could have scored an Oscar nomination for this. I actually thought she was that good here. And of course, Chloe Moretz was great as Carrie. Now, this movie doesn't really get a whole lot of love and all. Like, lots of people really don't like it. But I really, had fun with it. I mean, is it as good as the original Carrie? Definitely not. But it was actually really good. And yeah, if you guys haven't seen the remake, check it out. It's really fun. All right, coming in at number 6 is an HBO movie called Game Change. Now, this movie was directed by Austin Powers and Meet the Parents director Jay Roach, and of course stars Julianne Moore as Sarah Palin, and it's about the 2008 election. You of course had Ed Harris as John McClane. Woody Harrelson was in this. Let me pull the cast list. Now, I believe Julianne Moore actually won her Emmy for this, too, if I'm not mistaken. Boy, I think if she wins a Grammy and a Tony, she'll be an EGOT winner. Let me pull the cast list. You also had Sarah Paulson. Ron Livingston was in this. He played Mark Wallace. Brute Altman was in this. He had some Tiffany Doran. He had some really good cast members. Like, this was also a really good election movie. And I remember when they were first announcing the casting, I literally thought Tina Fey should play the role, but Julianne Moore as Sarah Palin, she played that role perfectly. She embodied the role of Sarah Palin. They made her look like Sarah Palin a lot. I think she played a better Sarah Palin than Sarah Palin. That literally, I literally thought she was terrific as a role. Yeah, I mean, even if you don't like Sarah Palin or whatever, I think you could probably still get into this movie. It's actually a really good. It's a really good political film. Coming in at number 5 is Still Alice. Now, this is the movie that won Julianne Moore her first Oscar. I mean, in it, you have Julianne Moore, who plays Dr. Alice Holland, who's like a renowned professor at Columbia University. And she's actually battling, she actually has like early onset Alzheimer's disease. And, her 3 grown children has to, comfort her and try to help her through the hard times. You got Alec Baldwin, who plays her husband. Who Alec Baldwin was terrific here. You also got the ones who plays her kids. I believe was Kristen Stewart, Kate Bosworth, and forgot the other one. Let me pull up the cast. Forgot the other person who played her their kid. Oh yeah, I believe Hunter Parrish also played her third kid. Also here you also had I mean Alec Baldwin was definitely terrific here. And it was directed by the late Richard Glazer and Wash Westmoreland. They both did a pretty good job at directing. This movie really shows how serious Alzheimer's could get. And Julianne Moore, I mean, I think it's probably the best performance she's given. If I was choosing my top 10 favorite Julianne Moore performances, this might actually be a little higher than 5. I mean, it'll probably be number 2 or number 3 or whatever, something like that. I mean, Julianne Moore was terrific here and definitely a well-deserving Oscar win. Coming in at number 4 is Far From Heaven, which was directed by Todd Haynes, who also directed Julianne Moore in another movie called Wonderstruck. And I think he also directed her in I'm Not There, if I'm not mistaken. But anyway. And like in the film, the story crosses both sexual and racial lines and revolves around like a privileged suburban family whose lives are like filled with daily and family social events at the club and a like overall desire to keep up with the Joneses. The family, is like turned upside down when both husband and wives are forced to are pretty much faced with like choices that not only create a gossip mill for the entire community, but also change their like entire lives forever. I mean, the cast was pretty good here. Like you had Dennis Quaid, who plays Maud's husband. I mean, Todd Haynes did a good job at directing. Had a pretty good script attached. And I believe it scored a few Oscar nominations too, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong there. Now, this movie was actually released in 2002, and I think it's a movie that probably still holds up. It's a really terrific film. Like, also, you got Dennis Haysbert is also in this, Patricia Clarkson, Viola Davis, James Rebhorn, some good cast members. And, I mean, Todd Haynes, I mean, he's a good director. He did a good job at directing this. If you guys never seen Far From Home, check it out. I think you'll enjoy it. Coming in at number 3 is The Kids Are Alright. Now, this, of course, stars Julianne Moore and Annette Bening as Nick and Jules, who are like in a long-term commitment, loving, but but by no means perfect. They're pretty much they're pretty much in a same-sex relationship, and and like Nick, is a of course needs to like will what she believes is like control, where Jules under controls is like less absurd, and so like during the relationship, Jules has like fluttered in her 9 to 5 life, sometimes trying to start a business, always unsuccessfully, or being the straight at home mom and the stay at home mom, and so like she is currently trying to start like a landscape design business, and they also have two teenage children named you know the kids are played by Mia Wasikowska and Josh Hutcherson, and they also have like a sperm donor father played by Mark Ruffalo. The kids are right, I believe, like scored a couple of Oscar nominations. I think Best Picture, if I'm not mistaken. It's a really good movie. Like I really like the family dynamic chemistry between the characters. I mean, Julianne Moore and Annette Bening, they had some good chemistry with one another. Like Julianne Moore plays Jules, and Annette Bening, played the role Nick. Mark Ruffalo gave a good performance. Mia Wasikowska, Josh Hutcherson was great. Yeah, it had some pretty good cast members around them. And the director who did this, named Lisa, I forgot how to pronounce her last name, but it's Lisa Chonaneko. She did a really good job. Yeah, like this movie, I found she have some heart to it. It had some funny, like some laughs to it. Yeah, if you guys haven't seen Kids Are Alright, check it out. It's a really good film. All right, coming in at number 2 is The Big Lebowski. Now, I simply love The Big Lebowski. I mean, it's directed by the Coen Brothers. You got Julianne Moore playing the dude's daughter. Of course, the dude is played by the great Jeff Bridges. Of course, here you got John Goodman, John Turturro, Tara Reid was in this. I love The Big Lebowski, and Julianne Moore's scenes was pretty decent. Like I really dug some of her chemistries with the dude. And I mean, some of the scenes that featured the dude and his daughter here was pretty funny to watch. Yeah, I mean, who doesn't love The Big Lebowski? It's just awesome. I mean, if you still never seen The Big Lebowski, what are you waiting for? Check it out. It's really amazing. Now, my number one favorite Julianne Moore movie is Boogie Nights. Now, Julianne Moore is pretty much the leading lady here, who like finds herself in a like she plays a character named Amber Waves, who finds herself in a custody battle with her ex-husband, and so like the court determines she is an unfit mother due to her involvement in the porn industry prior to criminal record and cocaine addiction. So, and of course, the whole movie is pretty much about the porn industry in the 70s. You got Burt Reynolds as the porn director. You got Mark Ruffalo as pretty much a porn star. You also got the likes of John C. Reilly. Don Cheadle was in this. You also had Heather Graham. Yeah, Julianne Moore. This is actually the movie that kind of made me a bit have a crush on Julianne Moore. I thought she was terrific in this movie. I mean, of course, it was directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, who's, come on, is one of the best directors there is. Yeah, I mean, Boogie Nights is just great. I mean, it has some really great dialogue, some great acting by Julianne Moore, by Mark Wahlberg. Yeah, I mean, definitely check out Boogie Nights if you've never seen it. I mean, the movie got released in, I believe, 1998, and I think the movie still holds up today. It's a great film. I mean, that movie is actually in my top 10 favorite Burt Reynolds movies. It's in my top 10 favorite Julianne Moore movies. It's also in my top 10 favorite Don Cheadle and Mark Wahlberg films. I mean, it's a great film all around. I mean, I think you'll enjoy Boogie Nights if you've never seen it. Anyway, that's pretty much it. Let me do the quick rundown. Number 10, Shortcuts. 9, The Hours. 8, The English Teacher. 7, Carrie. 6, Game Change. 5, Still Alice. 4, Far From Heaven. 3, The Kids Are Alright. 2, The Big Lebowski. 1, Boogie Nights. Now, there's loads of other ones I probably could have added. Let me pull up her credit list. She was really great in the last Kingsman movie that got released. She pretty much played the bad woman in that. She was in Seventh Son, which, oh god, that was so terrible. I mean, Seventh Son had like a Big Lebowski reunion, and that movie just reeked. She was in Hannibal, which the Hannibal movie that got released with like the last two Hannibal movies, Red Dragon and Hannibal, I thought was terrible. Silence of the Lambs is where it's at. Of course, The Lost World of Jurassic Park was a decent one. Crazy Stupid Love with Steve Carell. The Fugitive. Chloe with Liam Neeson's a good one. Match to the Stars, which is pretty odd, but it had John Cusack and Robert Pattinson. Good film, just really weird. She was, of course, in the last two Hunger Games movies. Don John with Joseph Gordon-Levitt's a good one. Let's see. Evolution is more of a guilty pleasure of mine. Suburbicon was just terrible. Non-Stop, also with Liam Neeson. Savage Grace is a decent one. The Forgotten is not decent. Let's see. Free Hell was a good one. Freedom Land was definitely not. The End of Affair was alright. Children of Man I could have added. What Maisie Knew was pretty decent. Hand That Rocks the Cradle was I believe that was like her earliest work. Magnolia, another Paul Thomas Anderson film. Laws of Attractions was alright. Assassins with Antonio Banderas. Of course, she was in the Psycho remake, which wasn't all half bad as people say it is. Maggie's Plan she was in. Prize Winner of Ohio is a decent one. Next, definitely not. That was a terrible Nick Cage film. The aforementioned Wonderstruck she was good in. And she has a few projects coming out soon. Like she's playing Gloria Steinem pretty soon. She's in this thriller called Woman in the Window with Amy Adams. So maybe down the line she'll have her second Oscar because she's just a tremendous actress. And anyway, let me leave you guys. What are some of your favorite Julianne Moore movies? Drop a comment below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that bell for more notifications. This here is Thomas L. signing off.